You know that moment when someone starts spreading a rumor about you? It could be at work, at school, within your own family. Someone makes up a story, distorts a fact, creates a version of you that simply doesn't exist. And that version starts to circulate from person to person, from message to message. It grows, and everyone waits. They wait for you to show up, to justify yourself, to deny it in front of everyone, to build a defense case for your own life, as if you were a defendant in a courtroom you never asked to enter. But you do nothing. You hear it, you feel the weight of it, and you stay silent. And suddenly the silence becomes a confession. And if it wasn't true, she would have defended herself already. He didn't even deny it. Silence gives consent. The absence of a response becomes proof of something. Guilt, weakness, fear of confrontation. The group has already chosen the label, and now it sticks to you. But you're not guilty. You're not weak. And you're definitely not afraid. There is a psychological reason for what you're doing, and it goes against everything most people believe about silence. This video was made for you. If you've ever stayed silent when everyone expected you to scream, stay with me. Psychologists have been studying this behavior for decades, and what they've found isn't what most people expect to hear. There are 3 distinct psychological profiles of people who don't defend themselves against rumors. 3, and each of them has a completely different internal logic. 3 origins, 3 mechanisms, 3 stories. The first is about social intelligence, the person who understood, long before any psychology book, how rumors actually move through the world. The second is about something that lives deeper, an internal foundation that simply doesn't need external approval to remain standing. And the third looks exactly like the other 2 on the outside. But on the inside, it's a completely different story. You'll recognize yourself in one of them. And what you find might change the way you see your own silence. Let's start with the first profile. And this one, honestly, is what surprises people most when they hear it for the first time, because it goes against everything that seems intuitive. Imagine this. A rumor starts circulating about you. You hear it, consider responding, maybe even draft a text on your phone, and then decide not to send it. Not because you're afraid, not because you're ashamed, but because some part of you knows that responding will only make things worse, that defending yourself will make the fire grow, not shrink. This intuition has a name. In psychology, it's called reactive amplification, and there's a concrete story that illustrates this mechanism better than any lab experiment. In 2003, singer Barbra Streisand sued a photographer to remove an aerial image of her California coastal mansion from the internet. She wanted it gone. Before the lawsuit, that photo had been seen by exactly 6 people. 6. After news of the lawsuit spread, the same image was accessed more than 420,000 times in a matter of days. She tried to erase it. And by trying to erase it, she ignited it. Wild, right? Have you ever done that? Tried to explain yourself and realized that the explanation only fueled more talk? That's exactly what happens when you defend yourself against a rumor. You don't solve the problem, you feed it. Because every response you give signals to the brains of the people around you, this is important enough to deserve attention. Every denial confirms that the rumor is worth taking seriously. Every explanation invites more people to form an opinion on the matter. Researchers call this the social backlash effect. Defense acts like oxygen for the fire. And the people who intuitively understand this mechanism, through experience, observation, or simply sharp emotional intelligence, stay silent, but not out of weakness, out of strategy. Staying quiet isn't hiding. It's leaving the fire without fuel. That's the first profile. Silence as social intelligence. The person who learned, sometimes through the pain of previous attempts, that the best response to a rumor is sometimes no response at all. And here's the twist. Because the second profile has nothing to do with strategy. Their silence comes from a completely different place. The second profile is rooted in something researchers call attachment theory. But what forms this internal foundation? Where does it come from? John Bowlby in the 1950s and Mary Ainsworth in the 1970s studied how the bond we form in childhood shapes the way we relate to the world, including the opinions others have of us. And one of the most powerful findings of this line of research was this: people with secure attachment develop something rare, an internal sense of self that doesn't depend on external validation to remain intact. In other words, they know who they are, and that knowledge doesn't need to be confirmed by anyone else. Here's what that means in real life. When a rumor circulates about a person with a secure identity, something different happens in their processing. They hear it, they evaluate it, and at some point, they simply discard it. Not because they don't care about the truth, but because the external narrative can't shake what they already know about themselves. Psychologists call this identity decoupling, the ability to let a story circulate in the world without needing to control it, without needing to manage the perception of every person who heard it. On the outside, this looks like indifference, sometimes even arrogance. But it's not indifference, it's presence. It's the difference between a tree that needs the wind to know it's standing and one that already knows, regardless of the weather. These people don't perform their innocence, not because they don't care about the truth, but because they already carry the truth that matters within them. And the approval of those who have already decided to believe a rumor simply doesn't carry enough weight to shake this foundation. This is the second profile. Silence as internal sovereignty. The absence of defense isn't an absence of feeling, it's the presence of oneself. And if this is you, you don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't need to convince them. Silence is not a debt you owe the world. But not all silence comes from a place of strength. And this is where most videos stop. I'm not going to stop here. In 1967, psychologist Martin Seligman conducted an experiment that changed the way we understand human behavior. He placed dogs in situations where, no matter what they did, they couldn't escape an uncomfortable stimulus, and their response was different from what anyone expected. They didn't get aggressive. They stopped looking for exits. They didn't try anything else. They simply stopped. They lay down, and they waited. Seligman called this learned helplessness. The logic is cruel in its simplicity. When an organism learns that its response doesn't change the outcome, the nervous system stops responding, not by rational choice, by conditioning. And this happens to human beings too. If you've ever defended yourself against a rumor and been ignored, if you told the truth and no one believed you, if you justified yourself, explained patiently, presented evidence, showed everything, and the story kept circulating anyway, your nervous system drew a conclusion. Responding doesn't solve it. And so, it stopped trying. This is the third profile. Silence as learning, as a protection that got stuck in the past. And here's the question worth asking yourself. When was the first time you tried to speak and realized no one was going to listen? Because that's where it starts, not in a weakness. In a lesson the nervous system never forgot. It's the silence of someone who learned, through repetition and exhaustion, that words simply get you nowhere. The surface is the same absence of response, the same appearance of indifference. But the internal mechanics operate for opposite reasons. And here is what I need to tell you. Now pay attention, because this is the most important part of the video. Everything I've said so far is true, but it's not the complete truth. Not all silence is created equal. There is silence that is a shield, and there is silence that is a prison. To someone watching from afar, there is no distinction. The same posture, the same face, the same absence of words. But the emotional reality of the person living through them is incomparable. The silence that comes from power, whether from social intelligence or security in one's identity, has a specific quality. It brings relief. There's a sense of clarity, of choice, of control. You could speak if you wanted to, you're choosing not to speak. It doesn't weigh you down, it sets you free. The silence that comes from pain is different. It doesn't bring relief, it brings weight. There's a sense of imprisonment, of exhaustion, of a shame that grew too big to fit into words. You're not choosing silence, you are trapped in it. And what changes everything is not the behavior others see. It's what you feel when the silence sets in. Here's the question no one asks, but that you need to ask yourself right now. Is your silence a shield or a sentence? Think honestly. Does silence give you peace, or does it weigh on your chest? Stop. Answer that first. Are you protecting something you value or hiding something you're too afraid to name? And if you wanted to speak right now, could you, or does speaking seem impossible? Too futile? Let that question land. Because the difference between the three profiles isn't in the behavior others see. It's in what you feel when no one is looking. It's in the quality of the silence inside you, whether it weighs like a stone or floats like a choice. If the answer was painful, that's not weakness. It's information. And information can be worked with. If you recognize yourself in the first or second profile, what you're doing has a name. It's intelligence. It's emotional maturity. It's sovereignty. You're not obligated to perform your innocence for people who have already decided what to believe. Let that truth sink in too. And if you recognize yourself in the third profile, in the silence that weighs you down, not the one that frees you, that also makes sense. It made sense once, when it was the only available response your nervous system knew. This silence protected you at some point. And it can be different now. You're not alone in this pattern. Leave a comment letting me know which of the three profiles felt most familiar to you, or if you saw yourself in more than one. I read every single one. And if this video made you feel seen, subscribe. I make videos like this every week for people exactly like you.